when it burns in Tasmania, it's not Tasmanian issue. You don't have to wait that it comes to Barcelona, that it becomes an issue. So this is definitely on a local, global, personal level to develop this kind of consciousness that when Siberia is burning, world's reservoir is burning. When it happens to Australia, the world is burning, not only Australia.
Exactly.
So Davor, what would you say regarding can we be saved? Meaning that we are obviously making short-term decisions with long-term consequences, that we are stuck into this nation-state concept, which is completely inappropriate for solving this issue. Katarina is even living in Barcelona, where Catalonians are even wanting. So for them, Spain is not enough nation state. So they have to go for even more granularity. And my personal perspective is that European Federation would be minimum of acceptance. Some kind of universal community of 500 million is minimum of acceptance for at least solving some small issues. And probably we would need a world as an organized political community to solve the real thing. Davor, what's your thinking on this?
I'll just back up for a moment to comment on something that was discussed just minutes ago, and that is the logic of today's capitalism and why is this happening the way it's happening. I think that without changing this paradigm, there is little that can be done on a global level, because it's interesting that most of those agendas that are advanced in the political arena, especially in the West, both on the left and the right, actually operate within pretty much the same presuppositions that a capitalist system is the basis, and then it's about just tweaking it a little bit here and there, or imposing taxation a little bit more or a little bit less, which is not a solution to the problem. It might benefit in certain cases, or minimize or lower the amount of damage being produced by the system, but it's not the solution to the problem. And this has to do really with the Western modernity that in the meantime became global modernity. Unfortunately, the Western modernity, the way it got globalized, is the capitalist modernity. And all these ideas that we now see are destroying the planet are actually in the very basis of the Western modern capitalist ideology, I would say, and the corresponding anthropology. For instance, when we talk about short-term profits, well, that's one of those things that's built into the capitalist system that we have. So forget about everything else. Think about short-term profits of your corporations. And then there is a corresponding theory that tells if we all did that, we would be contributing to the social whole, which is a complete absurdity. And we see now the harmful effects of that. But let's not forget that that has been a very influential ideology preached from many university cathedrals and then put in place, of course, also for the benefits of certain power structures and individuals. Take something else as well. Western modernity started also with the idea that the world is some kind of mechanism and that we should get hold of it and we should exploit it for our own benefit. So in a certain sense, everything that we see now has its prehistory. It's not inevitable, but there is a series of decisions that we have been making that led to the point that we are in. So I think that without a change of anthropology, which is not concerned primarily with consumers, which does not preach that we are just individuals and that our primary job is to satisfy our selfish needs and forget about everybody else, there will be little to be done. If we moved to a different kind of anthropology, actually anthropologies that have been dominant all over the place much before these typically modern ideas and still continue to exist, anthropologies that are based on solidarity, on mutual support, on treating other human beings as human beings, not as objects or something that can be potentially profitable, that has a potential to change things. Because let us not forget that the current capitalist system is not just destroying the environment. The way it treats and the logic behind it treats the earth and the environment is the same that we find in treating other human beings. Because how third world countries are treated, how people are exploited, how entire civilizations are wiped out. So that is part of the same stories. That's also the story about class warfare, and class warfare does not happen just within one society, it happens also globally. So these are the issues, and one very fundamental that's not really discussed that much is, are we willing, we in those privileged countries, in privileged parts of the world, are we willing to give up some of those benefits and blessings that we enjoy, that are all based on exploitation of nature or other parts of the world? And that is a question that those voters will need to face. And then, of course, through education, I believe that education is always the key to these issues, that through education, we might get to the point where there will be enough social force, enough people in a society to put pressure on their governments to do something both locally and internationally. And that's where I would slightly disagree with you, that it doesn't matter what we do in Europe. And I get the point, it doesn't matter so much if we just do that individually, of course, because individual action can do just so much. But if we manage to put these issues high on the agenda to national governments, and then to the EU level, that is already strong enough, not maybe to stop what's going on in South America, but at least to be a strong voice and on a source of pressure on those governments that are actually actively participating in destruction of the environment. Sorry for a longer response.
No, but it's interesting for me that both of you are somehow implying one thing. And this is, you mentioned, I think, voting, Katarina, you mentioned as well, voting or some pressure on government, or it implies democracy. However, democracy is not the only political system that we have. Second, it's imaginable for me now, as we see how the COVID-19 is treated, and COVID-19 is nothing compared to the real climate crisis or what could have happened if the virus would have been significantly stronger. Basically, it's obvious that we all incline, unfortunately, that our systems are in this moment of time inclining to kind of a non-democratic governance in a time of need. So basically, we mentioned once, as it was imposed in Rome, that when the city state is endangered, then dictatorship was granted for a limited time period. We don't have it here in the political systems, but somehow I would say that one of the victims of global pandemic, or tomorrow global climate issues or ecosystem issues of other kind, could be as well democracy. So basically any pressure would not be possible in a democratic way. Would you agree with this? Because this is one of my fears. I know, so basically we said culture, we said education, we said economy, and we were emphasizing this. And this political level is as well somehow something that is both influencing and being influenced by all of this. So this is, democracy can easily happen to be a victim of this. Would you share this, or any of you?
Katarina, would you, or?
No, please, be my guest.
Well, sure, but there is something else there. Not all the issues can be that affect public and political and economic arena can be reduced to the issue of democracy. That's important. So democracy, certainly, I unfortunately, I think, will be a victim in all of these processes. But let us imagine something else for a moment. would we, the three of us, give our support? Let's just take this minuscule example. Give our support, as if that mattered, to a authoritarian leader or authoritarian leadership that would be very resolute on stopping the deforestation, or whatever it's called, in Amazon, and cutting all the deals with multinationals that exploit the resources and that exploit the workforce, and that still keep labor camps both in Africa and South America and elsewhere. So would a strong leadership, although without the democratic legitimacy, that would be capable of doing something like that, or willing to do something like that, would it be supported by people who are interested in these things? So these are serious questions. These are difficult questions, because a democracy can be there formally in place and can be manipulated as it is. And many of these issues that are currently happening are due to either undemocratic or failing democratic, or even some meaningful democratic systems and processes that have been jeopardized by interests of global capital and local power structures. So in those circumstances, as it has historically been the case, when there is little that can be done through the institutions, those strong leaders have been appointed and emperors in order to, very often, at least that was the aspiration, to speak on behalf of those who cannot speak and cannot make decisions through the system. These are difficult questions.
Please, Katarina.
You know that I think that national politics and national political structures are completely like obsolete. Because nationalism, you know, we are still dealing with the terminology, 19th century terminology, and we have a 21st century problem. And that's my problem, really.
I think, sorry, in this respect, this is what we talk. In this respect, I equalize already now nationalism to primitivism, honestly. And we are basically really, nation state is, as said once, 17th century normative toolkit.
We don't really need to no, I'm like, as I'm leading projects related to conservation of natural ecosystems, so we often deal with communities, local communities. And from my work, how I see, and from examples we receive from Latin America, what we can see is there is no such rate of deforestation of forest fires in communities where their proper communities are working in ecosystems. You know, you don't have a mine company. You have a proper community-based project that is dealing and working on conservation and protection. So they have their own resources. They are able to bounce back the ecosystem and live from there. And I think if we start thinking globally, if we understand that we are part of the nature, and this is our home, our common home, and then we work like locally in our communities, changing our lives and livelihoods of our people here, I think we can make a greater impact. Because we all know what should be done, and things that should be done in Barcelona can't be the same as things that should be done in Stockholm, Copenhagen, or Vienna. No, we need like personalized approach. Because climate change will touch us every local community differently. We have desertification here, but in Stockholm you will have some other problems.
In this respect, what I'm afraid sometimes of is different kind of particularisms, that if we exploit our resources in a meaningful way, that means balance of nature in Vienna, for example, this could lead somehow to closing of society. At least I'm afraid that it could lead to closing of society. Basically, that if someone else would like to enter this society, then you would find some kind of no entry sign, meaning that, look, we are in balance with our resources. We cannot take many more people here, because otherwise that would destroy the balance. And now we are approaching the end, but I would like to tackle one more issue that you told me some time ago, and this is really when we talked first time, and this is what I liked, that you have this theory of golden billion, blah blah blah, that there is a limited number of people that can live on the planet, blah blah, and we agreed somehow that and this was a great message that I took out of talking to you, that 9 billion could live in a changed system. However, that even 1 billion could not survive in unchanged system, because eventually it would hit the same wall.
Yeah.
And this is, can we take this as a fact? What's your opinions, Katarina?
I have a problem with overpopulation theory, because it's pure populism for me. I understand it is a populist measure and doctrine, and I really don't think it's. There are plenty of resources, but they are allocated in such a wrong way. You know, our system killed more than 73% of all mammals on Earth, all mammal species in the last 40 years. We are mammals. We are the weight of those mammals missing. And then we are raising factory-raised animals. And we like if we are 9 million, we have jailed 30 billion animals to serve our food industry and our insatiable appetites for meat. So that's the point. Maybe there are no more buffaloes in Arizona, you know. Maybe there are no more gnus, antelopes in Africa. But those animals that we have enclosed, we should let them roam and serve as those mammals we kill. So bring back bounty and abundance to nature, because in this way we don't need to, like, how to say, we have so much problems now with pollution due to factory farming. All those problems would be solved, you know. And if we rethink our system and how we are raising up, how we treat other beings, not just humans, all creatures, we will see that our system is just like completely against the natural living forces. I think that we have to rethink our ways. For example, if we knew that for every 20 euros spent, some part of it, of those 20 euros, will go to further deforestation or to make loads of new plastic, we will think, oh, much more where and on what we spend that money. Mm-hmm. And if we knew really the real price of the things we buy, we would save more money. So we have loads of money we can invest in projects oriented to protect and conserve ecosystem, to empower local communities, to clean water sources, or whatever we want. But the point is, we can do a lot of things. We don't need to do them all equally. Mm-hmm. We can all choose to do 3 things. Let's just don't get binary with ourselves. We can't have an iPhone 1000 and be active. It's no problem, really. It's don't be binary and dogmatic. The point is just for everyone to choose what they can do, not what that limits us, but what we really can do. For example, I can make kimchi because I do fermentation courses, so I know ferment. I can make kimchi so I don't buy. I can make kimchi. I can try to recycle my waste better, and I can make a small garden for bees on my roof, for example.
And we can plant a tree. And all of us can plant a tree somewhere, maybe.
And we can all plant a tree, but first we have to stop deforestation rate, because there are a lot of projects reforesting, no, planting trees, but first these are small trees. Mm-hmm. Their capacities to store carbon will be great in a century, mm-hmm. but we need all trees to keep storing carbon for us. So we need to do both things. Stop destroying and start restoring, and then fund. We need to fund those projects.
This is a good point for the end. Davor, what would you say? Are we doomed, or we can live, 9 billion of us? And just to know to your question, I think I would vote for a strong democratic leader that would that would prevent deforestation, as you said.
The point was, if you had to choose between the democratic leadership that's pro deforestation oriented and an autocratic one that's anti-deforestation, which one would you choose? And in many other cases, you can make the same parallel. But I would just like, I think this was a very good summary and a good conclusion. Nothing much to add to it, except maybe just this. Just to expand a little bit and say that the reason why we very often buy everything that we buy is because of immense propaganda industry. So it's not only that there is something we can actively do, and there is a lot we can actively do, but even just passively doing things by not buying, refusing to buy everything that's advertised to us constantly via our cell phones and online and TV and everywhere else could actually bring an important change. And thinking about what are we financing, what kind of industry, what kind of ecological and social disasters are we financing when we buy certain products from certain companies would already be a start. It won't change the world, but it can be a move into the right direction.
Okay.
We all have to change. Yeah. We will all have to change, you know, rich and poor, companies and small businesses, we will all have to change.
Media, but this is we don't have any time for this. Media as well, as you mentioned, our propaganda, and basically this is the media are the ones that could present to people that Tasmanian wood is our wood. Is exactly. So that Tasmanian wood is nothing less Viennese than Viennese wood, basically. This is.
We need climate change in media, in a popular media. There are no movies, climate change, nor songs.
So let me conclude this. We have a lot of tasks, but we have chances. So this is in line with this intellectual pessimism and optimism of will. So thank you both for coming to the Global Living Room, and hope to see you there soon.
Big kiss, guys. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.